set up the conversation we're going to talk about today.
I've known him since I was in high school. We've really continued to bond because we've had somewhat similar journeys. He's asking me stuff about the Bible, and through this relationship that I've had with Travis, he started asking me some deep questions. One of the things that we really had a conversation on, he joined a foundations group that I do virtually through Zoom, and he had been reading the Gospel of Mark. And he asked me, he said, "Tanner, I just don't understand. We're all God's children, right? Why would God..."
This week on the Reach Podcast. All right, hey, welcome back. It's the Reach Podcast, and I'm joined once again by Tanner Morgan. Tanner is on the staff of Search Ministries up in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. Tanner, thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, Blaine, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and a little fun fact about you. I know we mentioned it last time, but Tanner, this is his first kind of real job.
Yeah,
I would.
My first real job for sure.
He's been an athlete, a very successful athlete, and all kinds of stuff. You can go look him up. But the winningest quarterback in the history of the University of Minnesota. So pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's easy when you get to play with a lot of great players that are still playing on Sundays.
Well, they got to play with you.
Yeah, that's all right.
That helped too, I'm sure.
I was very blessed.
Anyway, we're glad to have you on the team at Search, and we're going to dive right in, man, back into another conversation. So set up the conversation we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about my buddy Travis.
Okay.
Not his real name, fake name. Let's go with it. My name's Tanner. I like T's. So I picked Travis. Okay, so me and Travis, I've known him for a long time, bonded over the game of football. Shocker. But it goes back to, so in Search, we have what we talk about, cultivating common ground. I'm sure you've talked about that. This is our common ground, is quarterback play.
Yeah.
And so I've known him since I was in high school. You know, he was a quarterback at a different school, older than me. And we've really continued to bond because we've had somewhat similar journeys being quarterbacks. In the last 2 years, Travis and I have really started to talk more about in-depth quarterback stuff, but also he's asking me stuff about the Bible and all kinds of questions. And so it's cool to see how football can be something that God can use for conversations about him. And so what led to this is through this relationship that I've had with Travis, he started asking me some deep questions. I mean, some heavy hitters.
Like what?
Yeah, so some of the questions he's asking are, like I said, heavy hitters. Like, why would God send good people to hell? Which I'm going to point to that resource one more time because it's something
a lot of love on your episodes.
I love the question in God book. You know, I'm going through a lot of groups on it right now. But one thing, as a former athlete, he talked about flipping the switch. What do I mean by flipping the switch? He said, I want Jesus to be real. I want this God thing to be real. He said, it'd honestly be better if the world followed what the Bible said, which even earlier on, he said that it's a good read. He said, whether it's true or not, it's a good read. I enjoy it. He said, but I don't know if I can just flip the switch into being a Christian. I don't know what that means. I'm like, man, that's a great question.
So how do you handle that when that's a lot to throw out there? Yeah,
I think it goes back to, again, the relationship we've had, the trust that I had established and we've been able to build over a long period of time by valuing the one. And again, we're on FaceTime. We're not in person. We're not even getting coffee together, a meal. Like, he could hang up the phone at any point here.
Does he?
No, he doesn't, thankfully.
Just click.
Yeah, click. That would not be good. But I talked about, like, hey, flipping the switch sounds like a performative thing. It sounds like you're trying to earn it. You know, like when you're an athlete or when you're a business guy and you're going to make a sale, you kind of flip that switch on, like you're entering your sales guy mode, or you're entering the athlete mode. You know, I'm a different guy when I'm in between the lines, or I'm on the court, or I'm on the ice, whatever that may be. You know, some athletes or sales guys or whatever it is have that mentality. And I'm like, that's not what a life with Jesus really is. It's not about performing. It's more of a surrender. And he's like, well, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, a life with Jesus isn't about what you can do for him. Like, accepting Christ is really surrendering your life to him because of what he did for you and the fact that he is risen and still alive, an alive Jesus, not just a dead Jesus. And really kind of talked about the fact that, like, you can't earn it. You can't flip the switch and just behavior modification your way out of this thing and become a believer. Because it's not about just behavior modification and doing as many cold baths and cold plunges and working out 7 days a week or 75 hard. Like, even those things can be useful, right? It's really about, like, your heart transformation. And that's accepting him. And really one of the things we talked about was John 1:12, like receiving and believing, and how that gives me the right to become a child of God. And so all this happened over a long period of time, but this conversation was one that I wanted to highlight because it was like, man, I wonder how many people out there think like, oh, I just need to flip the switch on. Or I walk in on Sundays and I can flip the switch on, right? Or I can be a different guy Monday through Friday. And when it comes to receiving Christ, it wasn't like, yes, conversion happens at once, but evangelism is a process, okay? And this process with him, there's been intellectual barrier after barrier. You know, through all of them, they've been masked in prayer for sure. But it was like, dude, let's just break these down one by one. And this one really hit me because I think there's a lot of people who think, well, I can just flip the switch on when I want. Yeah. I can just become a Christian on my terms, when I'm ready, when I have enough money in the bank, when I, have succeeded to the point there, of where I want to go in my life or career, then I'll turn it on. And it's great to see someone who's really honestly struggling through that question and how we talked about it.
Hey everybody, I wanted to take a moment and let you know that the Reach podcast is brought to you by Search, a ministry dedicated to sharing Jesus through friendships and conversations for nearly 50 years. Learn more or get involved at searchnational.org. So how did he respond when you threw out the John verse and the idea of belief and receiving Christ? Did he say anything?
Yeah, he did. He said, that's a lot. It's great to think about that. He said, I've never really thought about how I can become a Christian without having to earn anything. He's like, I understand grace. He's like, but I still feel like I'm supposed to do something. And then as he was reading Mark, what the conversation quickly pivoted to was, it was Jesus. Jesus was doing a healing in Mark 8:22 through 26, I believe. The blind man, he's like, well, he has to heal him twice. That doesn't make sense. He was like, this sounds great, but it sounds more like folk tale-ish. He's like, I want to believe it's true, but it sounds like folk tale to a degree. Which we quickly talked about, hey, I don't know all the reasons why he had to do it twice. And, there's different thoughts on why this might have happened. But here's the truth. I know what I'm reading there isn't a folk tale. I know there's truth, and I didn't get into manuscripts or anything of that nature with him. I'm not quite even that far along in this ministry thing. I'm still a year in. I'm still trying to learn from guys like Blaine, but his response to it was good, and it was about, okay, we had to break down, I'm jumping around a little bit, really what it was to be a child of God, really what it meant to walk in sonship. Instead of understanding that, yes, we're made in his image, but to become a child of God, I really need to believe and receive in him as my Savior. And breaking down that barrier, I think, helped him along in his journey. And the journey's still going, by the way. And it's one that I would ask that you guys keep praying for, and I'll keep praying for him as well.
Do you feel like he's crossed over and trusted Christ for sure? I mean, or is he still? No, not yet.
It's a process. We're very close.
What are you doing wrong? Why hasn't it happened yet?
I don't know. I'm not gonna. Like I said, I'm a year in. I'm still trying to figure it out. What I would say is, inning. This is 7th inning or 8th inning. If in football terms, we're getting close to the goal line.
So, what's changed? Where are you guys at now? I know we're skipping ahead, but if you're going to modern day, what's keeping him from getting into the red zone?
Yeah, what's keeping him from the red zone? It's a great question. I think if I had to break it down simply, I think there's still some intellectual barriers that we have to keep breaking down, because there's been a lot, and there seems to be more that keep coming. Yeah. And that's what we do at Search is there's going to be answers to these intellectual questions. And then also we're going to respond with the gospel. And I think one of these days, one of these questions, he's going to kind of give up and realize I think I'm ready to actually receive Christ, and walk in this sonship and walk in what it means to have Jesus as my Savior.
Yeah, I hope he does. The questions, they're even more complicated now too. I feel like anyway, because I've grown up the last 20 years. Well, I don't know if I've grown up, but I'm older. But I've navigated becoming a Christian as an adult in really a different world than it is now, and seen how much more information we have the last couple of decades is just, and it's growing exponentially. I mean, you can look at anything with AI now. It's so cool. And with that comes a ton of disinformation. And so I remember in my early days with Search, even, it was so different talking to people because it was harder to get even bad information. Now, you can listen to very popular other podcasts and get so much bad information about the Bible, about Jesus, about some of the basic claims of the faith, all that. Of course, on everything else too. But there is so much information swirling around that I really feel for a lot of people who maybe haven't investigated things, or they're just hearing things randomly, like your buddy or wherever. And how do you know what to trust? How does he know to even trust you? What do you know? What do I mean, it's becoming harder and harder to know where to get good information. And I think that's why what you're doing is really important. Number one, the relationship with him, just showing that you're a trustworthy person in general, but also knowing that you're studying. Our training program at Search is pretty
it's intense. Yeah.
And I would encourage you to not ever stop, even once you're done with the training that we're doing. But I know that he'll be picking up on some of those things that you're learning and you're able to share, and that'll be helpful. Yeah,
I appreciate that. I think it brings up a good point too, of really one of the things that I think makes Search so important in this season that we're at is content, like you said, has never been more readily available. But what's scarce is relationships.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what people are missing sometimes. Why they don't go back to churches is they feel like, oh, I was just inauthentic. It wasn't real. I can't connect with that. They're missing real relationships. And you can find information anywhere. I can go on AI on Google, Microsoft, Chat GPT, whatever it may be, and find information to something. Might not be the right information.
No.
But what I can't go to the internet to find is a relationship. And so like what we're doing at Search is like, it's valuing the one, and relationships are scarce. And I want to provide great information, the right information, which again, I'm a year in. A lot of times I have to say, hey, I don't know. I can ask somebody. You know, my boss, Brian DeVries, is a lot smarter than me. And the people that are leading the training department here at Search are way smarter than I am. I can ask them. But what I am going to do is I'm going to commit to being your friend and really serve you in this relationship. And I think that's something that we need, and one of the things that I'm honored and blessed to be able to do at Search, because again, man, relationships are scarce these days and people are looking for authentic ones, and we can be that answer to people.
100%. So boil it all down for us, Tanner. All right. So you want everybody listening to take away one point from this conversation, just one little thing you learned, or just one thing that's a principle or a piece of wisdom that they could apply. What would that be from your perspective?
Yeah, that's a great point. What I would say is this. Before I get to the one point, I'm going to drag it along a little bit. Got a little bit of time. Intellectual barrier for me, I thought it was something like, oh, it means when I first learned about the 1, 2, 3, oh, it must mean I'm not smart enough if I have an intellectual barrier. That's not what it really is. It's like, no, I want to legit study these questions. I want to know the reasons why. I want to know the why behind what I believe. And so here's what I'd say, like for me in ministry, again, I'm not even a year in. I'm so blessed to even be in this seat right now. Knowing the why is a good thing, and I need to research the why. That's my challenge. I need to research the why. Because if I wasn't equipped through Search and the training, I wouldn't have been able to answer that question on the FaceTime. I would have had to hang up. And there's nothing wrong with calling him back again, but I was glad that I had a scripture that came right to my mind because of my training that I could go to. So in ministry, as a young adult, whatever it may be, know the why, but to know the why, I have to research the why. And that comes from understanding what I truly believe in.
Yeah, and maybe I would add to that, the questions that people have they fall into some basic categories. So it's not like there's 100 questions that everybody's asking all the time. There's really just a handful. And I know we talked about questioning God, but those are the ones in this book are, I think there's 15 or 16 or something like that. And of those, there's 4 to 5 that probably are 90%. Yeah. Some version of those questions are 90% of. And so my point in saying that, and there's a bunch of other great books out there, by the way, apologetics.
Yeah.
So there's tons, you can learn this stuff from all kinds of great places. there's a handful of questions that really represent most of the questions, and you could learn a pretty simple, basic answer to those questions if you took maybe a week on each one and just read a chapter of the book and tried to commit to memory a few basic points. And in 6 weeks, you'd kind of be ready. You'd have some things memorized and have an answer. I mean, the point is, it's not a big lift, and anybody can do a little bit of work and feel a little more equipped to have these conversations.
Yeah. How could I do that? Where can I find that resource?
You can go to a little place called Amazon.
I love it.
And they will have it.
Love
and
Amazon.
You can get it. So, Tanner, thank you, man. This was fun. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
Always a blast to be here.
Thanks for listening to the Reach Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. That'd be a good idea. Share it with a friend and leave us a review to help others find the podcast. Now, for more resources, please visit reachothers.org and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'd love to hear from you.